It really is a game changer. I
Mm.
myself am standing here because of an early breast cancer diagnosis. So I really am testament to the power of screening, of preventative care. My options were so much more because I was stage 0, so much more. So it really is a game changer, and yeah, fantastic. All right, a little bit later on, you'll get to have the dining experience in the immersive room, which is also going to be quite special and is quite unique. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the newly appointed head of Momentum Multiply. Can I still say that? Are you still newly appointed, or do you feel like you?
No, it's apparently 6 months is, yeah, part of the furniture.
You're part of the furniture now. Okay, the part of the furniture head of Momentum Multiply, and one of our fantastic hosts this evening. Very passionate about reimagining healthcare. She's a leader whose work sits at the intersection of purpose, innovation, and of course, well-being. Please put your hands together for Maria Carpenter.
Thank you. I don't know. Do I need this?
Yes.
Do I? Okay. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, and thank you to Multiply, to the Multiply team, and to Mind Matters for co-creating this beautiful evening. To have Dr. Tara Swart with us, to have Multiply and the ability to align our brand with Tara's work it's very special. And I am so proud to be able to stand here and with such conviction to say, like, we did this. Multiply, the work that we've been doing, the focus on creating healthy habits and understanding how important it is to wire our brains and rewire our brains. And Dr. Swart's work has given us the language that we can use to explain it rather than saying, you just have to do it. Just trust us, just keep doing it, and life is going to be a whole lot better. Now we can say, no, actually, there's reason behind our methodology, and neuroplasticity is a thing. And the more you do it, the better it's going to get. And we do this with our members. So Multiply is an incentivized wellness program. We do work for a health insurer, but we are focused on preventative care and well-being. And really, our main focus is health span. So it's not about making it to 80 and being frail. We want to make it to 80 and 90 and 140 and doing the Otter Trail and maybe skiing down the Alps. How old will my kids be? They'll also be centenarian. No, thanks. I don't know if that's going to work. But can you imagine a life where you feel good? And it's not about having the absence of disease or unsick. At Multiply, our focus on health span has led us down a road to truly understand and define what it means to be well. What does it mean to feel healthy? And we can have lots of discussions and chats about that, I'm sure, later and over dinner. But what it has led us to understand is that change, even though you know you have to, is hard. So we will tell people, we will do the preventative screening, and we will know that we need to make changes in our lives. Why do we still not change? It's hard. And we might start a journey and then we forget, or we hit a hiccup, or your family says, what are you doing? Why are you eating like that? Who told you this was a good idea? And what we're doing is we're creating a movement, since movement is a thing tonight. Yeah, we've got the Multiply movement too. And what we've done is created a space for our members where we can all be weird together and on the path together. Because being healthy and making choices every single day can be quite lonely. And especially when, just because you've decided to be healthy, doesn't mean your family has or your friends have. I talk about it often when I told my friends that I'd stopped drinking. That sad, dark day. Yeah, it's like, and it was hard for everybody to adjust because you go from one version of you to a different version, and now you talk about different things, and somehow you almost look like an alien for a bit because you're not the same person, but you find your way, and some days are easier and some days are harder than others, and on those hard days, with the movement that we're creating. And our core purpose is more health for more South Africans for less. So yes, it is for the Multiply members, but we want to make it for everyone. It's South Africa to be healthy, more health for South Africa. So on those bad days, on those hard days where you can't remember why you started this whole fasting thing, and why am I why do I have to meditate every day? You can log on to the group and you can check in, and sometimes you don't even have to because somebody else has told you about their wonderful day, and then you remember, wait, I actually, yeah, this is good. I'm going to stay on this path. There is a lot of good in this journey. Life is better since I stopped drinking. It really is. Like, waiting, I'm waiting for the joke. Yeah, so one of my favorite sayings ever is, the life I live is created by the story I tell. And we are all just stories, and it's the story that you're telling yourself in your head. And what if tonight, in this beautiful experience, then we're going to have this immersive setting behind the secret door, and after listening to Dr. Swart and the panelists and the conversations that we're having tonight, what if tonight you can hear something that might rewire your brain, and tonight you make a commitment to yourself by changing your story and writing and telling the story that you choose. Yeah. So it's good to be here with all of you. Thank you. Also, Saskia, thank you for you too.
Maria, thank you. Sure. That was very deep, actually. The stories that we tell ourselves. But now it's time for us to get to the headline conversation for the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really delighted to welcome world-renowned neuroscientist, advisor, MD, best-selling author of The Source and her latest work, The Signs, Dr. Tara Swart.
You mic'd up already?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Able to use this? Yeah. Or do you not need to hear me? Can you hear me? No. Can we have?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thanks.
And thank you for giving us of your time. We're so excited for this conversation. And let's jump straight into it. Just for those who might not be too familiar with your previous work with The Source. So your work sits at the intersection of neuroscience, well-being, daily practical action. It's kind of where science comes in to tell us how we can apply it to live our lives a little bit better and a bit more intentionally. We've all watched and listened to the podcast, but tell us again, why is it that there's a body-mind connection? What is it? I mean, we think about it, but you've got the science that proves it.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say I absolutely love being in Cape Town in South Africa, so it's my pleasure. Thank you for welcoming me back again. Before we had sophisticated scanning technologies, what was seen as mental illness or emotions or stress, it felt like there was a cut-off at the neck, and what went on in your brain and your head and your mind was really separate from what happened in your body. But once we could scan brains and bodies, we could see how much more connected everything is. We can see how it shows up in your body when you feel a certain emotion. We can see how stress manifests in the way that you think, but also, let's say, for example, in your gut. And that's where I'd like to start, with the gut-brain connection. So that feels even more tangible than just saying like mind-body, which still feels a bit, what does it really mean? Yeah, exactly. So the gut and the brain communicate with each other. Actually, it's a three-way connection. So it's the gut microbiome, which is trillions of good bacteria that populate our intestines, and the brain. And they communicate with each other mostly through the vagus nerve, which is the longest cranial nerve that comes from your skull all the way down through your lungs to your diaphragm and into your gut organs, but also through other nerves called enteric nerves, which are just the nerves that you have in your guts, through hormones, and through other chemical messages called cytokine messages, which aren't hormones, but they're secreted into the blood. And this is all going on in three directions, so they're all affecting each other. So basically, if you become bloated, then that could have a physical cause or a mental cause, and equally there'll be a knock-on effect. So that could start to affect your mood, or it could start to make you more irritable. Equally, if you're very stressed mentally, then that can show up as all sorts of digestive symptoms like acid reflux, indigestion, bloating, etc.
It's actually quite insane because it feels like there are these old wives' tales, these old wisdoms that told us that this was so, but now for the first time we're actually seeing it. And since your work, since the source, how have you seen medical industry practitioners, people speed up and come on board with this idea?
So I think there are a few ways that I could answer that, because about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I started teaching at MIT, where I was teaching leaders in business schools, I would talk about things like the importance of sleep and diet, and I don't think I was talking about meditation yet at that point, but you know, I changed the catering for my class because I said I can't be in class teaching you like this is how you maintain your energy levels as a leader, but then you go outside and you eat a cupcake that's got that much icing on top of it. So had to slowly persuade people to really realise that what you eat, I mean, 20% of the breakdown products of what you eat is being used by your brain when you're asleep. 25% of that is being used by your brain when you're working, and 30% is being used up when you're stressed. So this tiny organ, your brain, is actually using up a really disproportionate amount of what you eat. So I think one of the things I said that someone said just had like this light bulb moment on them was, I said, I choose what I eat from my brain first. And then once I've done that, I know that it will be good for my cardiovascular health, my gut, my skin, etc. And so over time, that's become more mainstream. People know that we really do need to sleep 8 hours a night, whereas it was still very trendy in leadership to say, oh, well, I only sleep for 5 hours a night and I'm fine. And then, you know, we really did start to see the catching up of the very high-profile leaders that said that. And then, this is anecdotal, but it was then, you know, backed up by research of people get Alzheimer's if they don't sleep enough. You know, it's not just the short-term thing. So I remember someone saying one day meditation will be like going to the gym, and I think we've got there in the last 10 years. So I'm kind of excited for what we'll be accepting in 10 years' time that we're not really accepting now.
Could be 5 years' time.
Could be.
Things are moving so much faster.
Yeah.
Just touching on language, you introduced this concept of neuroplasticity in your previous. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that for people who are not too familiar in the room. Because essentially it's basically that my brain can do new things and can continue to learn in perpetuity for as long as I live, which was not really something that we thought of before. We thought our patterns, we're stuck in it, it's the same thing. But actually there's a large proportion of us, of our brains, that is so flexible, so agile.
Well, first of all, I just want to be clear that I didn't introduce the idea of neuroplasticity. I wish I had. I introduced it in the book, yes, but not.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So the way to explain how that works is that again, it comes down to having sophisticated scanning technologies. So before we had those, we thought that by the time you physically stopped growing, you were about 18 years old, that your brain also became fixed. So things like your personality and your IQ would stay the same, and your emotional intelligence would stay the same for the rest of your life. If you think about how much a child changes from birth to the age of 2, it goes from literally being vulnerable, helpless, to being able to walk, talk, sometimes up to 5 languages at one time, manage their own bladder and bowels, and you know, obviously they go from there. And then in teenage, there's a pruning of the brain to make it more sophisticated for adulthood. So you understand how to behave socially, you understand how to maintain relationships, and obviously sex comes into the mix at that point as well. And like I said, we used to think that kind of finished happening at the age of 18, but now we see that it's a very active process till we're about 25, which kind of explains why a lot of kids stay financially dependent on their parents till much later. And we used to send them out with a briefcase at age 18 and
I was kicked out of the house when I was 19.
Yeah, yeah. And then the magic really can happen from 25 onwards. I used to say 25 to 65, but now I'm seeing people like older than that who are still learning and growing and changing. So if you don't learn new things or do anything differently, then after the age of 25, your brain's going to kind of stay the same. So if you married your childhood sweetheart, if you got a job that you love doing for the rest of your life, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to access more potential from your brain, then if you learn new things and expose it to novelty, so new things, then your brain will keep growing and changing. Now, I was having a conversation at a dinner party I was at with my friend the other night where someone was the armchair neuroscientist and basically said, if you do Wordle and Sudoku and crosswords, and I was like, actually, no, that's not really true. But no, she wasn't listening to me. So you need to do things that are so intense that they force your brain to change. So something like learning a new language or learning a musical instrument. But I also think that things like traveling, meeting people from really different backgrounds, meeting people from different generations, exposes your brain to a lot of novelty. And then there's two sort of modes that your brain can operate in, and one is habituation. That is, I kind of have the same routine every day. I walk past the same or drive past the same buildings every day. I no longer really notice Table Mountain because I've seen it so many times. And that's not a great state for your brain to be in. So as I've kind of moved towards my new work, I've tried to encourage people to cultivate what I call the art of noticing. So I particularly really try to notice and acknowledge beauty in nature. So, and I started doing it. I started really, in London, kind of looking at the autumn leaves and then the spring blossoms and just, impressive architecture. And I dropped this little fact earlier today at the Longevity Summit that when we hear birdsong, our blood pressure goes down and our cortisol levels, stress levels go down because birds don't sing if predators are around. So we have this ancient, primitive, feeling of safety when we can hear birdsong. So then I noticed that the number of times a day I was saying just in my head, isn't that so beautiful? That's so pretty. Oh, look at that. Or smell those flowers. And then I noticed third level, I'd be, in a taxi, even just with a male friend or something, I'd say oh, look at the colours of the dresses in that shop. Aren't they so pretty? And I remember thinking he's not going to care, but I couldn't help but acknowledge beauty, and I was noticing it so much more.
I think it's a perfect segue because the new word we learned today is neuroaesthetics. So that's really coming fresh into the new book, which is The Signs. And it really is about, you're inviting readers to kind of reconsider coincidences or synchronicities, not as chance, but actually as quite meaningful. Do you want to expand on that a little bit and tell us what is neuroaesthetics? I like it already.
Well, you should, because you are very neuroaesthetic. So neuroaesthetics is the science of how the arts and culture and beauty, particularly beauty in nature, but also connection with others as well, how those things promote your mental health, your physical health, and your longevity. So if we start with I kind of feel like we probably covered beauty enough, but with the arts and culture, and there's making and there's beholding. So this could be you singing in the shower or you listening to the radio. It could be you dancing around your living room or going to watch a drum circle or something. And people who indulge in the arts every 2 to 3 months have a 31% lower chance of dying. People who only indulge in the arts once or twice a year have a 14% lower chance of dying. Now, whenever I get science that I don't have a modern explanation for, I always go back to evolution. And if you look at our ancestors, who had no spare resources for fun, it was pure survival. It was hunt to get enough food to eat, find shelter, huddle together, keep in your tribe, reproduce. That's really all it was. Why did they hum, drum, chant, sing, dance, make cave paintings, tell stories? It must have been crucial to our survival. And I think a lot of what you say, new things that we've learned, they're actually all old things that we've forgotten. And I think especially here in South Africa, you have obviously so much access to nature, but you have your ancient cultures are around you. You know, a lot of the modern world, they're so far removed from their ancient wisdom. You know, I heard my friend Dr Ash say earlier today, this is probably one of the easiest places in the world to start neuroaesthetic practice in your life.
You're so right. I mean, I often tell people I've always liked beautiful things. It's one of the reasons I chose to stay in Cape Town and make little money and not move to Joburg like all my friends, because I really love beautiful things. And the beautiful thing about having this nature park in the middle of the city, I think has an effect on your well-being. Talk to us about longevity in this and how, I mean, it makes sense, but still, I mean, this could be a whole other reason why we should be supporting the arts as governments when you look at the well-being of populations. So, I mean, just talk to us a little bit more about this link between longevity and creativity. And I want to ask you about how you feel about the rise of AI, because I was just listening to a conversation today about somebody talking about, I mean, AI can create, I'm going to say mimic rather, but there's a perception it can create music and create pictures, but it's using what is there already. We're looking at a future where there's going to be a lot of content created by machines. I mean, what kind of effect do you think that's going to have? Because surely listening to a song made by an AI versus a song listening to the birds sing is going to have a different effect on my brain and therefore my well-being.
There's about 10 questions in that question.
Start with whichever one you remember.
Okay, I'd love to give some statistics, if I can remember them all, about the connection between art and humanity. You know, there's even a bigger philosophical question, which is art what makes us human? And mostly in history and anthropology, we say, well, we know that early humans were making cave paintings about 40,000 years ago. But actually, and this is very local, we were carving patterns into ostrich shells in southern Africa 85,000 years ago. 20,000 years before that, we were making necklaces out of shells and wearing them. 100,000 years before that, we were picking up ochre from the ground and crumbling it and smearing it on our faces and our bodies to make us look more beautiful. And 500,000 years before that, we were making tools that were more beautiful and symmetrical than they had to be to complete the task that they were meant for. So that's astounding if you think that far back we actually cared about beauty. And were adorning ourselves and creating art. And, you know, things like, for example, if there's a beat of music or a rhythm or a beam of light that's either of the light or the music are going at the same rate, then we would all align our heart rates and our breathing rates, and it makes us more cooperative. So there's a survival advantage. Just trying to think about the next part of your question.
The AI bit.
Well,
I'm very worried about
yes, okay. So I want to say one little thing in between and then connect it to that. So there's some really recent research that shows olfactory enrichment, which means smelling as many different things as you can throughout a day, can increase memory and cognition by 226% in older people. But can you imagine if you started doing that now, you know, really noticing your bath or shower products, smelling your coffee in the morning, maybe having a diffuser or a candle in your workspace, using a pillow, you know, spray on a mist on your pillow at night. These are things that just stimulate neuroplasticity in the olfactory area of the brain, which is near the memory area of the brain. So it's not quite art, but it's something beautiful that's actually having a massive impact on your brain. And then with AI, I mean, we've known about, you know, and I'm a scientist, so I'm a fan of technology, of course, and it's inevitable, so there's no point really saying anything other than that. But it's growing at such a rate. You know, we've kind of known about AI for a while, but then ChatGPT just sent things like this. So personally, I believe in watching a lot of science fiction to prepare yourself mentally for what's coming in the future. Things that I was watching as science fiction as a kid are real life now. I was in LA last week and I went in a driverless car. And I was excited, but it's freaky.
Scary.
Yeah. But I never thought I would see that in my lifetime, having watched it, in movies and series when I was little. So, yeah, I advise watching sci-fi and reading sci-fi. And I think that a return to what's innate and primal in us is the only answer to not having to compete with AI, but being something that's just so much more complex and beautiful.
Because then coming back to your new book, The Signs, it is all about remembering. So tapping back into that intuition. Do you think that this is something that, do we all have? Is this a collective wisdom in a way?
I think we have both. I think we have our own wisdom, which are lessons that we pick up in life, but obviously you don't consciously remember everything you've experienced in your life, but we do, through neuroplasticity, we embed these patterns like in our brain and also into our body. And do you all know the book, The Body Keeps the Score? Which explains very well how trauma is held in the fascia and the musculature of the body. So I've put forward a hypothesis in the book that wisdom is also hidden in the body, and that if you can combine mental wisdom with physical wisdom, you can actually unleash a next level of wisdom. So where I always wrote about journaling or talking therapy or, some exercises to kind of access your intuition in your head, I've now taken it a level deeper. But I do also think there's some kind of, well, not some kind of, based on Carl Jung's work, there's a collective consciousness, there's commonalities that every human being that's ever existed has, which is that we all have birth, we all have life, and we all have death. And so there are inherited genes and brain structures that are common in all humans. And that produces some kind of common mental experience. And then in the book, I have delved into the nature of consciousness and whether it's, absolutely married to physical matter or it can exist separately, and, whether we can share or communicate. And yeah, I had, it's really nice for me. It was not fun writing, as we were saying. It was really, really hard work. But I look back now and think I was allowed to research basically any topic that I wanted to. And there were a couple of times that I got pushback that some of the topics were too woo-woo, but I pushed right back and I'm really happy with where it's ended up.
Okay, so maybe some of the topics are a bit woo-woo, but from a practicality perspective, are there things, what are the practical things that you've come away with after this latest work that you think, if people just knew these one or two things, they could unleash and unlock longevity and joy for themselves in their everyday life? You spoke a little bit about something that I'm fascinated by, which is noticing in the moment. So I'd also like to know, how do you actually activate that? It's one thing saying, I want to do that, but then life is stressful and things are happening and everything seems to be going faster. How does one cultivate that kind of knowing? And if there's any other practical tips?
Yeah. So some of these things like gratitude practice that I've spoken about for a long time, I used to just say, okay, what are 10 things you're grateful for? Write them into my journal. What I've learnt now is that when I'm feeling really low or negative, or I've got a dilemma that I feel like I can't solve, if I stop and do 10 things I'm grateful for in that moment, it completely changes my mindset. So it's now not a routine, it's now actually a tool to help me out of a negative mindset. I would say the appreciation of beauty is like a next level gratitude practice. So it's definitely, in a relatively surprisingly short period of time, changed the way that I look at the world. So I think one of the things that's kind of gone a bit viral is that I've made a table in the book that shows that we actually have 34 senses, not the 5 senses that we all thought we had. So that's a lot of senses that we're not even aware of, that we're obviously not tapping into. So I've kind of used that as a bit of an analogy to say, well, what's our consciousness capable of if we expand it in the same way that our physical senses, there's a lot more of them than we ever thought. But really what it came down to was some very, very simple things. I think we kind of all know, but really do need to be conscious of bringing into our lives, which is that your tribe, the people you have around you, they give you psychological safety, they boost you up. You have something of meaning to contribute to that group as well. And if that's a good group of like-minded people with the same values as you have a brilliant life. If that's a group of people who, classic example, if someone says, I've stopped drinking, in one friendship group, people will say, oh, don't be so boring. Why don't you just have one drink? Or just have it like tonight, you can start tomorrow. That's going to have a completely different effect on someone to what I know my friendship group would say, which would be proud of you,
Yeah, fantastic.
inspiring. So, and then apply that to like every other thing. Time in nature is like the best thing, and it's free. And I just want to say, because we are in Cape Town, if you live in Cape Town, that you can become habituated to it, even though it's so stunning. So try to make sure that's not happening. And then find your thing. My thing's ballet.
Really?
Yeah. Not doing it, watching it. Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I was about to ask you to break out your points. Okay.
Yeah. So, for me, it just moves me emotionally. I feel like it touches my soul. So find what that thing is for you and make sure you're doing that at least like twice a year.
I want to take this opportunity now to introduce our two other panelists. If I can please have Maria Carpenter to come up, but then also Kanchana Mudlia, the founder of Mind Matters, to please join the panel. If you can give them a round of applause. I think I want to start with you, Maria, because I'm sure this resonated quite a lot. And you didn't speak so much about it, but I know that you have quite a holistic view of healthcare and how people should be approaching. With what Tara has been talking about, Dr. Swart, especially in the neuroaesthetic space and being outside and being in nature, tell us a little bit about how Momentum Multiply views longevity and healthcare in that space.
Should I take the mic? Thanks. Thank you for that question. So at Multiply, we've got 5 pillars to wellness. Eat, move, sleep, breathe, and connect. Is this on? I don't know. Is it on now? Must I just speak super loud? Activated.
There we go.
Science fiction. That's a good tip. Okay, so we've got 5 pillars for wellness, and all 5 have to be, you have to notice all 5, rather than just having one that you, so that you have a favorite. So everyone typically has a favorite. So you'll have the gym bunny, who is excellent at move, not so great at breathe. You'll have the person that's excellent at yoga and at breathe and meditation, but not so great at cardiovascular health. They don't really like sweating. And at Multiply, what we've learned to understand is that you have to care about all 5. You have to care about sleeping. And being in corporate and having been in corporate for a few decades, sleep is one of the first to go. Yeah, and we talk about it. And that's what's so good about Multiply is the conversations that we now have. How many hours are you sleeping? Why do you think 7 is such a great achievement, Maria? I'm like, I am super proud of myself. Yeah. I think I'm too close to that mic. Okay.
I think maybe it's on Tara's mic down a little bit. Okay.
Hello. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's holistic wellness. That's the focus. And so I do like to bring in some playfulness because it can get quite serious. And looking at Tara's work and just understanding Dr. Swart's work. How do you feel about Tara?
I love Tara.
Yeah. I love Tara too. Okay, so understanding Tara's work and bringing it into the Multiply world, into our ecosystem, it's the repetition. It's Tara's mic.
But you've also got a
Okay. Did they?
Have you got a lapel mic?
Yeah.
There's,
No, that's for the video, so we can't take that.
Okay, then keep going. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Keep going.
Okay, so Tara's work, so it's the repetition. Repetition really matters. So you can't just do it once, like I went to gym once and then I said, that's it, I'm cured. It didn't work. You have to go over and over again. And actually understanding your thinking and your work on noticing. You have to build that muscle. So that when you do go past all those shops and you go, wow, look at those beautiful colors of those dresses, you trained yourself to get to that spot or that space where you immediately recognize it and you have an emotional reaction to it. And all those pillars, all 5 of our wellness pillars, has that muscle that needs to be trained. And so even eat, so the choices that you have to make good choices consistently. We were chatting, I've got a friend who thinks that Coke is still fine. And I was saying, Tara, he's like almost 50. I don't know how to get through to this guy. But it's making the shifts, making a decision that you are going to act on those shifts forever. Okay, you can make some exceptions, but you won't get an active date now.
that's hard though, Maria.
No, it is hard. It is hard, and that's why so we build in motivation and gamification and rewards. So we are using monetary rewards, but there's also, like on our app, we build in, it's not as much about the monetary rewards as it is about just tracking yourself and getting that dopamine hit that I made it. I completed my weekly cycle. But it is still hard.
And do you find that once people get that and they get into the motion of it, that it actually seems like they're doing better at it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people. So everybody, there's commonalities, the 3 commonalities, that's clear. But when it comes to building habits, in our experience, what we're seeing is that people have different preferences. So some people don't want to wear a wearable device. They don't want any technology, but they still want to earn a reward. Some people only want to wear a wearable device. Some people only want to go to gym. Some people want to talk to us often and like be part of my journey. And some people don't want to talk to us at all. Yeah, mixed reviews. And but so how do you cater for all of that? What we're finding more and more is so that the concept of testimonials and sharing your story, it's like just the word testimonial, it was testimony to my journey, is so powerful. And what we're seeing more and more of is if you can build hope in people, like no matter where you are, there is a better day. Like it doesn't matter how bad it is, there is something better for you, but you have to take action. And let me tell you my story. And people share their stories and their hardships and how they overcome. And there's something so beautiful about overcoming and the human experience. And when you connect with that story and you're like, wow, she did that. Okay, maybe I can have 8 glasses of water a day. I can do this too.
Say wine.
You're really upset about this. Yeah. We can talk about it later.
So this idea that anything is possible, and if you treat your mind, treat your body, because I mean, we're talking about our mind being here, but the more I'm talking, the mind is throughout your body.
Embodied.
Because it's completely embodied. And I mean, when you talk about 3, I mean, there's a gazillion systems there that's all running at the same time. When you talk about how many senses?
34.
34 senses. That's multiple systems running at the same time. You know, it sounds complex and it sounds insane to think that we could possibly be the masters of our own bodies and minds, and craft this life that we want for ourselves. But your science tells us that it is possible. And not just science, because I want to say sometimes science is about the head, but a lot of what I'm getting from the science is that it's also about the heart. Because like when you talk about intuition, and so encouraging this connection between the two so that we see it as being embodied.
Yeah. So I think I need to probably make a bit of clarification about these senses, because otherwise people are going to think I'm insane. Which you've hinted at, but
I think if we let you loose, people will see your full greatness. Yeah.
So, for example, taste is subdivided into 5. So, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. But we only knew about umami since the 1980s. So, our suite of senses is actually growing in terms of our knowledge. The latest one that was actually recognized as a sense is the immune system. So, obviously, you'll have to buy the book to get the other 30, but just so you know where I was going with that. Yeah. So, at the most basic, manifestation is setting a goal and taking whatever action you needed to get there. No one can really argue with that, okay? I am going to just be a real scientist and go back and disagree with you on anything is possible. I had been doing vision boards, but what I call action boards, since about 2008 or 9. And I kept them pretty realistic for the fact, I was just changing career, so I kept them really realistic, but friends encouraged me to, ask for a bit more. And then in the end, I realized that there are things I'm capable of that my own brain isn't aware of yet. So I just started leaving more space on these boards, like room for magic. And I think that was a big game changer for me. Like just being open to noticing and grasping opportunities that might be relevant to my personal life or my professional life or my health or my home situation. So I think it's a bit of both. It's like, it's good to know some of the things that you want, but it's also good to not be limited by what your brain may not be conscious of yet.
That's very interesting because it's almost like, leaving room for the magic, but it's also a little bit about relinquishing control because we plan when we think we know exactly where we want it to go. We can see it, we can see the vision. But to your point, sometimes you're not able to actually fully comprehend what that vision could be because you don't have that point of reference yet.
Yeah. And I think where that started to feed into the next book is that obviously sometimes in life things happen that are completely out of your control and they have a massive, effect on your life and change your life and the way you have to live. And so what I sort of started seeing during the pandemic is that people either felt very lost and directionless, very disconnected, like relationships did break down, friendships as well as romantic relationships. People died, obviously, so people were in grief. And we're all having to navigate a new way of being, some of us more than others. And that's what made me move away a little bit from that idea of that you can control, a lot or anything's possible to there's got to be another way. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I wanted to ask.
I just wanted to ask Maria for her view on that, because with regards to encouraging your members, and also wanted to ask about must it be hard, because Maria had spoken about it being hard sometimes. Must it be hard for us to grow? But to you, Maria, for your members, do you see that trying to make it practical? So I start out and I'm not going to gym every day. It's really hard and I'm trying to get into it. But after you get into it, do you see that it's bigger? I mean, are you tracking any data like this on your members, that where they might have seen that this was the plan that I had for this new way, but actually when I got into it, I am now taking care of all 5 of the pillars, and I actually am feeling better in my life, and I am feeling more energized and healthier and better for my well-being.
Yeah. So you want to know if hard is worth it?
Yeah. Does it work out?
Always. So there's a time that it takes. So we work on 21 days, but that's actually not totally accurate. It's a bit of a myth, the 21 days, that you to start a new habit. or to form a new habit. Actually, do you agree with that? That it is just
Just 21 days.
Well, I think a really important point to make just briefly is that it depends what it is. Because if it's going to the gym 3 times a week, I think any of us could maintain that within 21 days. But if it's learning Spanish, obviously not. So,
21
yeah.
days. Spanish, 21 days, no. Yes, so there's different times that it takes to form a habit, but what you'll see with members is the consistent effort. So they've got to get through whatever that hurdle is. So let's say it's 21 days. Most people at 21, if they can make it to 21, they're going to make it to 42. They will make it to 3 months, 6 months. But if they can't make those 21 days, then they'll drop out. And it's unlikely that they will continue. But 21 days, that's just an arbitrary number. Whatever that duration is that you have to overcome. And then it feels easier. And the reason is that they will start feeling better. So they feel better in their world. So assuming that it is around gym and not specifically gym, but more movement in their diet and possibly eating better. So maybe they had a cholesterol problem because so when you start on our program, you're encouraged to go and get your numbers. Go find out where you are right now. So you can either go for a blood test, have a wet test, or you can use your phone and do a digital screening, which is pretty cool technology that I thought was a lie, and it wasn't. I tested it, and I was convinced that it was wrong, but it was correct. And yeah, and so it's amazing what the tech can do and what it can pick up. But now you know, and now I'm going to set that goal, which might be that I need to move more, I need to eat better, I need to do something. And I will start feeling better when I make a decision and I act, but I have to take action. So what we don't have data on is the people that don't choose, like they don't take action and they don't, or they fall off before they start seeing a result. And that's what we want to help catch, and that is through tribe. That we believe it's through community and building community where we catch each other. Because, but I do think there is a great question in that. Does it have to be hard?
Yes.
Does it have to be hard to grow?
Discomfort.
Can I-
How much discomfort?
Just asking you, yeah.
I would like to know if you've considered this in the way that you do things, but I talk about micro habits or micro tweaks. So I say change 10 things by 1% rather than one thing by 10%. So if I go from being a couch potato to you suddenly saying you should be going to the gym 3 times a week, it would be better, I think, to say, why don't you drive like 1,000 steps further away from your office block than... Why don't you just have 1 extra glass of water per day? Why don't you go to bed half an hour earlier?
Yeah, that is so great.
Micro habits.
So what we've done now is, so we had quite a lot of feedback from our members telling us what they thought of the inflexibility of the program. And what we're busy doing now is making changes to make it actually age appropriate. So I can't share exactly how we're doing it because it's going to be launched this month. And there are people in the room that will tell me people that I told people. Yeah. Anyway, it's very clever. And there are different ways that so we work on something called an active day. And previously and right now currently, it's strict. This is your active day. And it's calories burned and it's intensity. And it's like it's easy when you are fit. And it's easy when you're in it. But the hurdle to get there, that's the couch potato to 3 times a week. It's just too much. And this program is now growing up and maturing to far more flexibility because we want to catch you. And I just want to leave you with this. Even 10,000 steps a day is arbitrary. If you research it, who decided 10,000 was the healthy day? So we've researched everything now. We in no stone left unturned. I want to know the truth. What is an active day? And ultimately it's about more movement. So if you sit 8 hours a day and you do 20 minutes of intense exercise, that's still not good. It's better than sitting for 8 hours a day and not doing 20 minutes. But you need to, there's a reason that your watch keeps telling you to stand up. I notice you've been sitting. I'm like, I'm in a plane today. I'm like, seriously? Okay. And that you must move more. So it is that micro habits. It's move more consistently. Yeah. It's great.
think we need to go for.
Yes, I think we need to wrap up now. We have got an incredible experience, but before we go, I think maybe just some last words, and we'll start with you, Kanchana.
So I just want to say 9 months ago, this was something that wasn't even in existence. And today all of you are here and we are having a conversation around what the future is all about. So I think for me, that's already something that I'm very grateful for, and thank you all for being part of the journey, especially Multiply, and the teams that have joined us, Sipla, Inual. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful journey, and let's hope we continue to make it even better and get everybody on this journey, because I think society, company, and the world will be a lot better when all of us are a little bit more peaceful, when all of us are a little bit more grateful, when all of us are a little bit happier and joyful. Chris is going to talk about this at Mind Matters, but he told us something very sad that Lorraine and I were listening to, where he said that in the Human Growth Code, they indexed most countries, and South Africa was the lowest on joy.
What?
You're going to hear about it in Mind Matters, so we hope to see you there. But in the meantime, he'll tell you about it at dinner.
Thank you.
On that note,
That's sad.
Did you have to expose me like that?
yeah, I just want to. I'm filled with gratitude right now, just to be here with all of you and to be in this experience. And I have just a special, deep thanks to Tara for your life's work. Yeah, you've devoted yourself to us. And that's quite extraordinary. And thank you.
Thank you for
everything.
putting it like that.
Yeah. It's an
Wow.
honor to sit here next to you.
Thank you. What I would like, is this working? What I would like to say is that for the last year, I've been at home in my onesie every day writing. But prior to that, and for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been having a very difficult time in my personal life, and I've really avoided meeting people because it was just too much for me. And that whole process has made me like much more introverted. But I just want to say how grateful I am to be here in person with all of you today, and that it has brought me joy and lots of lovely compliments. So yeah, I think I'm having to like re-emerge from that shell a little bit, and I would say that I'm starting to really enjoy being around people, and so thank you for being the ones.
I want to say thank you to all 3 of our panelists. I think it takes an incredible amount of courage to be at the forefront of the spaces that all of you are at, because probably you are the lone voice in the room a lot of the time. So I want to say thank you very much for your courage, because you've gifted us and will be continuing to gift us. I mean, I cannot wait for Mind Matters Summit to just grow, so that we can be the happiest nation on the planet. The most joyful nation on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be moving to what is going to be more than a Michelin star chef experience. It's actually going to be a completely immersive culinary experience. I want to thank all of you. I'm not sure, am I going to be coming back? No, I'm not going to talk. I want to thank all of you for being such great guests tonight. On behalf of Momentum Multiply, on behalf of Mind Matters Summit, on behalf of Inual, on behalf of Prime Media Cares, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and spend it here with us in what we hope will stay with you long after you go home tonight. Before you leave, I think we will have a token of gratitude for you. I'm not going to say what it is, though, but it's going to be a really beautiful supplies, and like, well done, you're getting it before a lot of people. I'm Saskia Falcon, have a safe journey home. Please join us in Shepherd in the immersive experience room. Thank you.